The night I found her sitting on the curb with 2 torn suitcases and nowhere left to go, I realized how fragile a life can be. One minute you're arguing over something stupid in a kitchen that smells like burnt toast, and the next you're staring at everything you own stacked beside a trash bin. The streetlight above her flickered like it couldn't decide whether to shine or give up, and in that weak yellow glow, my best friend looked smaller than I had ever seen her. Her shoulders were hunched, her mascara stained her cheeks, and her phone lay face down on the pavement, as if even it had abandoned her. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in standing beside the people you love even when it's inconvenient, take a moment right now to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this matter because they remind us that sometimes one decision can change everything. I had known her since we were 15. Back then, she was the fearless girl who would sneak into abandoned buildings just to prove she wasn't scared. The one who laughed too loudly in quiet libraries and defended me when I was too shy to defend myself. Life had been uneven to her, but she always stood tall, until that night. She had moved in with her boyfriend 2 years earlier, convinced that love would be enough to build something solid. I never liked the way he talked over her, the way he made jokes at her expense and called them teasing. But she believed she could fix things. That patience was stronger than pride. What she didn't see was that she was slowly shrinking herself to fit into a space that never deserved her. When I pulled my car over and stepped out, she tried to smile. It was the kind of smile you give when you don't want anyone to see how badly you're breaking. She told me it was nothing, just a misunderstanding, that she'd figure it out. But the landlord had already changed the locks after her boyfriend left, without paying the last 3 months of rent. He had disappeared, taken what little savings they had, and blocked her number. The eviction notice had come like a final insult, taped to the door for the neighbors to see. She kept saying she didn't want to be a burden. That word burden hung in the air heavier than the humid summer night. I looked at her suitcases, at the life she had tried to build stuffed into cheap fabric bags, and something inside me refused to let her sit there another minute. "You can stay with me," I told her, my voice steadier than I felt. She blinked at me, confused at first, then almost amused. She thought I was joking, maybe because I lived in a tiny 1-bedroom apartment on the 3rd floor of a building that smelled like old paint and fried onions. Maybe because I worked 2 jobs just to keep that place. Or maybe because she couldn't imagine someone actually rearranging their life for her. But I wasn't joking. The first night she stayed over, we spread a thin mattress on the living room floor. My couch was too small, and my bedroom barely fit my own bed and a metal shelf. I could hear her trying not to cry in the dark. The walls were thin, and the city noise outside did little to hide the soft, uneven rhythm of her breathing. I stared at the ceiling fan spinning lazily above me and wondered if I had made a mistake. Not because I didn't want her there, but because I wasn't sure I had enough space, enough money, enough emotional strength to carry both of us. The next morning, reality hit hard. My landlord was already strict about guests. I worried about the extra water bill, the extra groceries, the extra electricity. I started calculating everything in my head, subtracting and dividing as if kindness had to be budgeted. But when I saw her sitting at my small kitchen table, hands wrapped around a chipped mug of coffee, staring blankly at the wall, I knew the math didn't matter as much as the moment. She applied for jobs non-stop. She rewrote her resume 3 times in 1 week. She called companies that never called back. Each rejection chipped away at her confidence. I watched the fearless girl I once knew hesitate before clicking submit, as if expecting the world to say no again. Some days she stayed in pajamas until late afternoon, scrolling through old photos on her phone. I could see the question in her eyes. How did it all fall apart so quickly? And I struggled too. My boss cut my hours at one job, and suddenly I was juggling shifts like a desperate magician. There were nights I came home exhausted, my back aching, only to find her still awake, sitting cross-legged on the mattress, staring at nothing. We tried to stay strong for each other, but sometimes strength felt like a mask we were both tired of wearing. Money became tight fast. I stopped ordering takeout completely. We made simple meals, lentils, egg stretching them as far as possible. I sold an old guitar I hadn't touched in years. It wasn't worth much, but it paid for groceries for a week. I didn't tell her how close I was to overdrafting my account. She already carried enough guilt. One evening, after another rejection email, she finally broke. She said she should leave, that she would figure something out, maybe stay at a shelter. The word hit me like a slap. I remembered all the time she had stayed up with me during my worst breakup, all the late-night phone calls when I doubted my worth, all the silent support she gave without asking for anything in return. Friendship isn't a transaction, I realized. It's a promise. So I told her that staying wasn't charity. It was loyalty. It was history. It was 15 years of shared secrets and stupid jokes and standing up for each other when the world felt too loud. I told her she wasn't a burden, she was family. Something shifted after that conversation. Not overnight, but gradually. She started waking up earlier. She began taking small freelance projects, only editing documents, managing social media for a local bakery. The money was small, but the impact was huge. It wasn't about the amount, it was about feeling capable again. We created a routine. In the mornings, we would sit by the window with coffee, making lists of what we could control that day. Apply to 3 jobs, update 1 portfolio piece, go for a short walk, cook dinner together. It sounds simple, but structure became our anchor. When everything else felt unstable, those small rituals grounded us. There were still setbacks. One promising job interview ended with a polite email saying they had chosen another candidate. She locked herself in the bathroom and cried, and I sat outside the door, feeling helpless. I wanted to fix it, to hand her a solution wrapped in certainty. But all I could offer was presence, and sometimes presence is enough. Then, one afternoon while I was at work, she called me. Her voice was shaking, not from sadness this time, but from disbelief. A marketing agency she had applied to weeks earlier wanted a second interview. Not just that, they had seen her freelance work and were impressed. They wanted to meet her in person. The days leading up to that interview were tense. She didn't have professional clothes that fit properly anymore. Most of her things were left behind during the eviction chaos. We went through my closet and pieced together something decent. I ironed the shirt carefully, as if pressing out every doubt with the steam. When she walked out the door that morning, I saw a glimpse of the old hearth, determined, bright-eyed girl who once believed she could take on the world. I prayed quietly in the kitchen long after she left, asking for something to finally go right. The call came 2 days later. She got the job. I will never forget the way she collapsed onto the mattress, laughing and crying at the same time. It wasn't just employment, it was validation. It was proof that one terrible chapter doesn't define the whole story. The salary wasn't huge, but it was steady. It meant she could start saving, start planning, start breathing again. Months passed. She contributed to rent. She insisted on paying for groceries sometimes, even when I protested. The apartment felt different, lighter, warmer. We painted one wall a soft blue to mark a new beginning. We framed cheap prints and hung them with pride. What once felt cramped now felt like a shared sanctuary. Eventually, she saved enough for a small studio apartment across town. The day she moved out, I felt a strange mix of pride and emptiness. The living room looked bigger without the mattress on the floor, but it also looked lonelier. Before she left, she handed me an envelope. Inside was a simple note and a small amount of cash. The note said that the night I told her she could stay with me, I didn't just give her a couch or a floor to sleep on. I gave her time. I gave her dignity. I gave her the space to rebuild without feeling ashamed. A few days later, she posted a long message online about her eviction, about how close she came to giving up, and about the friend who refused to let her sleep on the street. The message spread. Strangers shared their own stories. Some offered help to others in need. A small ripple of kindness moved outward from our tiny apartment. If this story has touched your heart even a little, please take a second to like the video, share it, and let us know in the comments what kindness has meant in your life. And before we reach the final moments of this story, I have one special request. Comment the word hope below if you believe that no one should have to face their worst night alone. Looking back now, I understand that the real miracle wasn't the job offer or the new apartment. It was the decision made under a flickering streetlight, the decision to say, without hesitation, you can stay with me. Sometimes we think we need wealth or power to change someone's life. But often, all it takes is space on the floor, a shared meal, and the refusal to let someone you love believe they are a burden. She once told me that she thought I was joking when I offered her a place to stay because no one had ever chosen her that way before. And maybe that's the quiet tragedy many people carife belief that they are too much, too broken, too inconvenient to be chosen. But we can choose each other. In a world that moves fast and forgets quickly, choosing someone really, choosing them can be the most radical act of kindness. That night, I didn't solve all her problems. I didn't have a grand plan. I only had a small apartment and a heart that refused to let go. And somehow, that was enough. If this story reminded you that even the smallest act of generosity can change a life, don't scroll away. Engage with this video, share it with someone who might need courage today. And remember that your extra room, your extra time, your extra patience might be someone else's second chance. Because sometimes, the difference between despair and hope is just one sentence spoken sincerely in the dark. You can stay with me.